We never actually started red line then. It was a blue line that we started in 2010, right? If we step back then, you remember we've always had that rail corridor. So Lagos was not with the federal government at that time. So PDP government never gave Lagos the right of way for the red line now, which is from Oyingbo, Ebute-Metta, all the way to Agbado, right, which was where we all grew up, that rail corridor, right? So federal government never gave us that opportunity to be able to do the red line there, right? So it's just now that indeed we're doing the red line, right? So federal government went on to want to do Lagos to Ibadan, then to Kano, right? If we miss the opportunity now and we don't quickly do the red line, what will happen is that once they start the full operation, you will not be able, to have an intra-city rail network there. It's intercity they are doing now, Lagos, Abeokuta, Ibadan, and all the way to Kano. So for us is to seize the opportunity, build, the rail infrastructure, go line in line with NRC in some places. We need to build our own terminals. We need to build our own sidelines. We need to have joint communication strategy with them. And we need to build overpasses, such that we can have intra-city network from Oyingbo to Ebute-Metta to Yaba to Pass Jibo to Mushin to Ikeja to Agege to Ijayi and finally to Agbado. So what it will do for us is, while the federal government is taking people out of Lagos to other parts of the country, we are keeping our own traffic as internal to Lagos, right? So whilst the corridor has been developed, there are places where we need to extend the rail infrastructure corridor, but we have the stations to build, right? About 6 of them. We have the overpasses to build, which is like bridge overpasses where vehicles will go on top and the rail will go below, so that we can have safety, which is critical and paramount for any rail infrastructure, right? And in each of those each of those stations we're building, not only are we putting car parks there, we're also putting small retail mall where people can have, a transportation experience. The whole idea about this, is for people to have transportation choices in Lagos. So we're doing rail. We started extensive development in waterways. Of course, BRT, that's the only one that everybody sees. But I'll tell you something also in the waterways. We're currently building 15 jetties. 15 jetties. 15. They are like small airports. They are like small terminal buildings, right from Apapa, of course, Liverpool, straight down to Badagry. Apapa in Badagry, Marina waterfront in Badagry will take you also to Ekpe, Otuomu Creek in Ekpe, will take you to Ilaje, will take you to Ilado, on Lagos West Coast, which is Amuodofi, will take you straight in here to Etiosa. All of the ones we have around Badore, around Okera, right? Come to the normal Faloma that we all know. Do Ebutero to bring you to Marina. So we're connecting the entire Lagos also with waterways. At the end of the day, we want to have, which is our first pillar of agenda, by the way, traffic management and transportation. We want to have an efficient rail network, blue line, red line. We want to have waterways that people believe in, trust, reliable and safe, and of course have the BRT. Each of them working independently, but now having a solution where payment can be done on any and all of them together.
Okay, so let's take it one after the other. I'm going to come to the waterway transportation, which is also very key. Issues of security, capacity is also one thing on that stretch of conversation. But let's hear on the rail line, which a lot of Nigerians are very interested. The people that have had the experience of Abuja, Kaduna, and people that have had Lagos to Ibadan experience now will be looking forward to the Lagos rail transportation. So there is the red and there's the blue. The blue has started for some time. You are kicking start the red line. For those who do not know, for example, what is the difference between the red and the blue? Okay,
so it's where they are in Lagos. The blue line is meant to start from Okokomaiko. That's in Lagos West. Okokomaiko is on Badagry, Lagos Badagry Expressway. After Lasu, Okokomaiko. It's supposed to come from Okokomaiko to Mile 2, through Orile, take it elevated, past National Arts Theatre. You've seen the sea crossing, and finally ends up in Marina. So it's 29 kilometers. We've been able to, we are going to hand over phase 1 of it. Phase 1 of it is from Marina to Mile 2. The phase 2 of it is from Mile 2 to Okokomaiko. The beauty of this one is that we've done the difficult part. The difficult part is the elevated one, which is there, like the bridge. We're building bridges all throughout where the rails are going to be. From Mile 2 to Okokomaiko is at grid level, meaning is at surface level. So we're just going to put the tracks there. We're not building any bridge, it's just straight track, and the alignment is there. So that is for blue line. The red line is on Lagos Central District into Lagos West as well, right? So it starts from, the phase 1 of it would start from Oyinbo, go through Ebute Metta, past Yaba, past Jibowu to Mushin, pass through Ilupeju to Ikeja along, gets to Agege, gets to Iju, and finally get to Agbado. That's the red line, which is from Lagos Central, like I said, into Lagos. The phase 2 of that red line will now do the sea crossing from Ebute Metta, Oyinbo. He will go to Ido, which we all know, and he will now cross the bridge as well, like the blue line has gone, and finally bring you to Marina. So Marina will eventually have both the red line and the blue line. So it will be a major, major transport hub.
So in technical sense, there isn't any difference in the blue and red, because where you label it by those colors, people think maybe one is sophisticated than the other, or maybe there's a major.
No.
It's just in terms of the routes, that's the difference. So the blue line was delayed, and people were wondering, maybe it was because of funding. Was funding the problem?
So, Seun, let's look at it. There is no sub-national anywhere in sub-Saharan Africa. In fact, if we also take it to developed worlds, in America and US, that is taking a real project by itself. A real project by itself. No sub-national. We are a sub-national. We took that decision about over 10 years ago, and we said we wanted to be audacious. I was in that cabinet, and we said we've never seen a real bit developed. Right? So no sub-national in risk have taken up one. So it was an audacity that we've taken it up. And so you've seen, over from Orile right to Marina, it's elevated. It's like we're building 8 kilometers of bridge on the highway. Right? So it's all, so its cost is critical. And it's crossing the water. Cost is critical.
So it was a funding that stopped.
It was a major.
For almost 4 years, it looks so much like contractors stopped work and nothing was happening.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, I don't criticize my predecessor, but indeed, for whatever planning or for whatever reasons, he never just funded it. So when we came back in the last 2 years, right, the contractor has since significantly moved from about 55%. Now we're about 93, 94% in terms of physical construction of phase 1. So we've also raised finance, for the rolling stock.
Meaning how much is this costing Lagos?
Well, I mean, in terms of, so don't let's look at just how much it's costing. It's a lot of money. It's a lot. It's well over 100 billion. To be honest with you.
Is the government funding or counterpart funding?
No, it's largely government funding, but we have to use what we call creative financing. When you're doing creative finance and you're building infrastructure that are going to last 20, 30 years, you cannot be using short-term money. You need to also look for matching long-term funds to be able to and have the breather, so that you will also be able to pay back in the life of that infrastructure. So we have some very decent long-term borrowing to cushion the effect of it.
And I mean, in terms of return on investment, what does it look like?
It will, because transportation, I'll be critical with you, there is always that little element of subsidy that might come in there. Subsidy in the area of ensuring that you have price regulation. You can't just say to the consumer, because we're going to get concessionaires who are going to put the rolling stock on it. All we're developing is the infrastructure. Infrastructure. Somebody's going to put the rolling stock on it, which is like the buses. It's like on the rail, also on normal road, we build the road, you can get people to buy bus and apply the road. That's also what's going to happen with the rail. So with our concessionaires, right, is to say to them, we must have some stringent passenger rule. You can't just wake up and say you want to increase the fare to a certain amount. You must have the breather to know that you recoup your investment over a longer period, of time, so that it becomes accessible and affordable to the citizens. So those are some of the models, that we're working with. So we believe that there will be return on investment for, the concessionaires when they do come in.
The bigger return on investment will be the ease of life for the lives of Lagosians in terms of the traffic, the hours that people stay in traffic. There was an interesting video that someone posted where everybody on the bus at night were commuting from the island to the mainland, and everyone was asleep in that bus. There was only one person who was awake except the driver. So it tells how tedious it is for people to commute in Lagos.
It's difficult. It's difficult because a mega city of this size cannot rely only on one means of transportation. It's unfair, right? So that's why we have to stretch ourselves. And when we ask the question during the campaign, we ask citizens, what do you want us to solve first? It's transportation. And so we needed to look for the funding to give them the three options: rail, waterways, and road transportation. And not only does it improve the quality of life, we believe that it also enhances the economic value of our citizens. People can pretty much determine their travel time, their journey time, and have it all set up.
So Lagos residents and citizens can hold on to your promise that this will be delivered before the end of next year.
It will be delivered. We should see the rail movement, by the last quarter of next year. So once we're able to get the road movement, the only thing will probably remain will be to ensure that signalization, security components are all proper, and that we'll certify all of the security, safety issues that is required. Then we should open it up. We're believing that before the end of our tenure as governor, people should be flying on the railroad.
We believe you. We'll hold you on to that, and hopefully, because it will gladden the heart of a lot of people who commute every day through these roads. And experts have said, look, it is not only the scarcity of the means of transportation that is the problem, causing traffic and long man hours on the road. It is also the quality of some of the roads. There is a lot of potholes on some of the roads. People are dodging and people are bypassing some of these roads. So it brings to the fore, are you solving those kind of problems too?
Seun, we have to. We have to, and we have to take it up very, very seriously. Infrastructure in terms of road infrastructure is critical to us. And I'll tell you, in all of our three senatorial, there are big investments we're doing there on road infrastructure. If you will take Lagos West, which we're doing a lot, the whole of Alimosho, the whole of Ojokoro area, the whole of Ojo. Right now, we've just awarded the old Navy Town Road, the Navy Town Road in Ojo. We've just awarded the Buba Marwa, very notorious, heavy traffic road that where all the trailers, all of the fuel tankers, are the Jegun, where we've just awarded that road again. We just commissioned Temowo, it's called Tedimowo Bridge at Ojo local government. If you come to, the other side, which is the Agege, Alimosho side, we just handed over the Pensilma, we just handed over 31 roads in Ojokoro, and Agbado Ijayodo. 31 roads. If you come to the Lagos East, we're doing Agric-Ishawo in Ikorodu, we're doing Obasi Kumade in Ikorodu, we're doing Ijede in Ikorodu, we're doing Igbugbo Ishawo in Ikorodu, we're doing a brand new one, which we'll call Bola Ahmed Tinubu, going towards New Ijede. We're doing all of this
at the same time.
At the same time. If you come to Lagos, Central, we're doing all sorts of roads in Ikoyi. We're doing Thompson, we're doing Milverton, we're doing McPherson.
These are new road construction, or you're fixing them?
No, they're brand new roads. We're taking them off, and because you've talked about the portal, we're doing brand new roads with drainages everywhere. From Etiosa going towards Ekpe, from the junction, where we have Eleko Junction to Ekpe is 18 kilometers. 18 kilometers of 6 lanes. 6 lanes is what? From face me, I face you. We're turning into 3 lanes both sides, 6 lanes of rigid pavement road. 18, that's what we're doing for them. That's what we're doing for our cities. That's the kind of things they need. So we're doing the roads concurrently. And we're not just leaving the highways, right? The regional road is there. It's 10 kilometers from VGC, busting out, it has a bridge as well. You're going to bust out by Freedom Road. We're also looking at internal roads. And that's where, I'm happy with the kind of things that our public works are doing. Public Works today, they've done over 270 roads, internal roads.
Maintenance.
Grade 1 maintenance, because we have 2 ash flat plants, grade 1 maintenance. And also, don't forget, we also set up what we call a 337 constituency project, which started last year. Meaning that we're doing a project in every ward. In every ward. We have 377 wards in Lagos. So we took up 377 projects. Over 60% of that are road works. So we went to every local government and asked, what do you want us to do? In your ward, what do you want us to do? A lot of them say, do this internal road for us. So we have about 60% of that also as road internal. So we're bridging all of that, Lagos has over 10,000 roads. It's huge, Shehu. It's huge. Right? So for us, it's work in progress, but we need to be very strategic. We need to look at roads that can commune and that can connect communities together. Roads that can also open up new areas. I'll give you a classical example. We have an idea to do what we call Ije-Ododo-Ijagemo Road. But the community says that, well, we don't want you to demolish our property, look for another alignment. We have to tell the contractor, let's take you somewhere else. Right? Maybe further down the line, they will tell us to come back. So these are some of the challenges. We're going to Adeniji-Adele. We're going to reconstruct the whole of Adeniji-Adele. We're going to reconstruct Tapa, Glover, on Lagos Island, because there's flooding issues there. And we're engaging them. So for us, one of the things that people tell us is that, Mr. Governor, we might not be able to go to your school. We might not be able to use your hospital, but we'll use your road. So road does not have any differentiation in color. So we have to continue to do it. It's always about 55 to 60% of our capital expenditure every year.
Let's take a breather, everyone. And up next, when we return after the break, we ask Governor Sanwo-Olu about the effort in securing Lagos State and his views on state policing. Join us again. Lagos is massive. We're not even through with the first area that we're tackling. And I'd like you to talk about the waterways. Quickly, the waterways, you're planning 10 of those?
15, actually.
15 of those terminals.
We're building 15 jetties as we speak currently.
To take how many commuters?
Well, so Lag Ferry have done about 200,000 passengers now. We're believing that we're an enabler of that sector. We're getting another set of 6 catamaran, they're called smaller vessels, boats. Each one of them carrying 40, 30 passengers, 25 in some cases. And so they're supposed to move people from one, terminal to another and rest of it. But like I said, we're meant to be a stimulator. So LASWA will be doing an expression of interest to get other players to come in, bring in, ferries, bring in boats, and we can complement our own effort. We're doing channelization. So safety, security is assured on the waterways. Once that is done, we're believing that on the waterways, we should be doing about 60 to 70,000 passengers per day. We're doing currently about 5,000 now. Are
you benchmarking it on any template across around the world? Are you mirroring it?
So last year...
I'm saying this because a lot of Lagosians are not familiar with water travel. So the first fear is how safe. So if you give us an idea of what inspires what you're doing now, might give some people who have experienced waterway travel in some other climes to understand what you're trying to do.
First thing first is 1/3 of Lagos is water. And that's natural. So it will be unfair on us not to utilize that opportunity. Lagos, in terms of area, is also even below the sea level. So it's there. The water will always be there. It's about 33% of our landmass is water. So we need to create that infrastructure. The infrastructure for water is the terminal. Proper terminals or proper jetties that the boats can bath. Security is there. And the type you have at Falomo, right? That's maybe not the building, at that size, but the safety and the security of the jetty must also be of that quality. Once that is done, the other thing is to encourage private sector investors to be able to make investment in ferries, buy the boats, right, and just comply with the safety, that we're going to be putting out there. So we are the ones that have been leading that conversation. Like I said, we've got about 20 boats now, 50 passenger, 40 passenger, 30 passenger, that is being run by Lag Ferry. right? So we want to demonstrate the capability and the capacity. And I've said to you, the data shows that we've moved over 200,000 in less than 1 year, and it's verifiable.
And that's why the NFA also partnered with Lagos
Absolutely.
to take the Super Eagles across the water.
Seun, thank you very much for reminding me.
So it's interesting that all of this is happening. And I'll go back to land now. The government came out at some point to say that they're going to scrap the yellow buses, the Waterway, and all of that. When is the exact date for that to stop?
Well, it will be unfair for us to use the word scrap. We need to collaborate. We need to engage. These are important stakeholders. They've served our citizens, they've served the Lagosians for so long a time. It became even, the print of Lagos, the yellow bus. So let's be very creative. Let's see how we can remodel them. So it's not a scrapping out. We're not throwing anybody out. We're collaborating with them, and we're saying, you know what? Our citizens now deserve newer models of car, better means of transportation, and let's work together. The yellow buses are meant to be doing what we call a last mile movement. And before our second time, end of May 29, we're launching what we call the last mile, but we're on the first phase of about 400 last mile buses. They're small 10-passenger, 8-passenger buses, so that it will complement what the yellow buses are doing. And so we'll sit with them and say that we've brought these buses to you. Let us exchange it. You are the ones that can still run it. Let us take this fleet out. Let us refleet these new components for you. And so it seems like it's a win-win, opportunity that we are creating.
What about the car hailing model that you introduced recently?
So that is a taxi model. That's another model. So we want to participate in the three models of transportation, land transportation. The buses, the last mile mini buses, and the taxis is the three models that we have. So the middle ones are what we call the last mile, the small 8-seater, 10-seater, right? So the taxi, right, are for individuals, so for individuals that we have. So what we've done with that is we've signed, an agreement with an international automobile company, right, to say, you know what, let's start assembly plant here. So we're triggering an assembly plant, in Nigeria for that transaction. And for it to work, we said we'll do a demonstration and procure and stimulate the taxis with 1,000 numbers. So the 1,000 are coming. They're on their way. They should start arriving, by May. But beyond that is to be able to deliver about 5,000-6,000 over the next 1 year, 1.5 years. So the plant is also coming. Okay. So
at some point, we will not see the yellow buses again.
We will see newer buses. Of buses.
So the guys that are driving the yellow buses might be the ones that you will.
Now you are
they are not going to be out of jobs.
We do not.
Because that's one thing that we want to clarify.
Absolutely. So
that we will not have those our very good friends who are driving the yellow buses out of jobs, and their families are going to be in trouble.
And so to take them as stakeholder, for them to sit with us as small cooperatives, we'll be able to hand it over to them and say, you know what, manage this thing very, very well.
So there were several buses that were destroyed during the NSAS protest. Are you planning to replenish that pool? What exactly is on the minds of Lagos government?
Absolutely, we're planning to replenish them. In fact, we've started the conversation. An interesting thing is that we're working with a local bus manufacturing company, right? And it's going to come with almost the same specification of the ones that were unfortunately, destroyed, so that Lagosians can still have the same experience.
Weren't they insured?
Oh, they were insured, but insurance will never, these are public things. I mean, the insurance will never cover you 100%. So these are insurance that are beyond, they're like natural resources. They're like natural events that they will never believe that arson or riot will cover. Your insurance typically will cover accident, will cover, reckless driving. Those are the kind of things but these are like unforeseen, unexpected incidents. So the premium on it were far, far, far low. They cannot give you any replacement.
Perhaps the last part of the issue of road transportation and traffic and gridlock issues is going to be Apapa. You intervened. And a lot of Lagosians will say, wow, maybe some sign of sanity is returning to that axis, because a lot of people have lost hope. Over the years, efforts have been made. For a few days, sanity returned, but it does look like that insanity has returned to Apapa yet again.
There are two things that is a problem, but unfortunately we kept dealing with one. We all talk about the Apapa ports, either the Tinkan port or the Apapa port. What goes in and out of a port are the flatbed, the trucks that go and carry the containers. They are the flatbeds that come. The other one that we forgot to deal with are the tankers, the fuel tankers. A lot of the jetties and the tank farms are also in Apapa. 65% of the total fueling, almost 70% indeed, of the total that goes to Sokoto, that goes to Maiduguri, that goes to Abuja, they are being fueled from Lagos. So meaning that on a daily basis, there are about 2,000 trailers that are trying to get into the tank farms in Apapa and come out. So we've been trying to solve the problem of Ecolop with the flatbed that were carrying containers. We've forgotten that there's another bigger monster, which is called the tanker drivers. So the tanker drivers that DPR and NNPC give approval for, they are meant to have enough parking for them to receive all of their tankers before they fuel them, at their depot. But that's not the case. So we've realized that they're the ones now that are giving us 40, 50% of the problem. So we're going to enter the same conversation with NNPC, with DPR, and say to them that all of the people, all of your major oil, guys that are bringing, they do not have parking spaces in their yard. And because they are all birthed by, the same ports area, that's where all the tank farms are because of their discharge, and also everybody seems to go to Apapa. So we're going to be solving that and have that conversation with them. They have to have a time in which they all can come. And you know what I get? They said that if I stop them, then they will go on strike. That's the kind of pushback we're getting. And nobody wants to hear anything about fuel, Nupeng or drivers going on strike. So we're managing all of those crises, and we're dealing with all of the very difficult issues. The call-up, in my view, is working well, fairly well with the flatbed. I kept using the word flat. They are the ones that are carrying the containers. We understand their own model a lot better now.
Well,
but the ones
you're solving one problem,
exactly.
Another one.
Because
resurfaced.
If you check the pictures of all of the flags that we get on Apapa now, they are the tankers.
But how soon are you able, because you came in, the federal government task force unit, which collaborated with the Lagos State government, they tried over several months and nothing happened. The vice president visited, but you personally moved in. So how soon are you going to move in with another strategy? And what would that solution be?
If you want me to give you the truth strategy around Apapa, is for that port to leave the place. And that's the truth, because it has actually outgrown the capacity of what is also being done there. So that's why we have the Lekki port coming up. And I have good news for you again. Lekki port will also be ready by last quarter in 2022. I've been there. It's about 50% completion right now, and so we've just got about another 18 months to go. Once that is also done, we can reduce the pressure on Apapa completely, because indeed that Apapa port, the tonnage that was designed for it, the amount of cargo that they are carrying now far outstrip what their design model is. So that is, the medium to long-term solution. This is something we'll have done as a country 10 years ago, and just say to ourselves, given the capacity of our importation appetite, we should have thought of building another port. And that's what we're doing with the deep sea port in Lekki. If
you stay on this sector, we might not get into something else. But it's interesting also to let a lot of people know that you and some of your colleague governors will be entering into you'll be stepping into your third year, ending the second year. For a lot of people who saw you campaign and are wondering, you are 50% done in your 4-year term, and all of the promises made to Lagosians, if you look at them in the eye tonight, would you say you have performed to what you promised?
With all very sense of modesty, I can also look you in the eyes and say to you that if I'm supposed to mark my own script, which I would rather want people to do, we have not gone short of strong deliverables. We have actually upped the scale, and we have delivered significant. And I'll give you some of the statistics. We promised you on Team's agenda. We've been talking only on one pillar, and that has stretched you for under 30 minutes. If you go to the next which is health, and environment, right? We're currently building the biggest, child's hospital. We had a whole year of pandemic. You know what COVID did for us. We're able to rescue this nation out of the issues that COVID-19 will have crashed us. I mean, let's say it. That's what it is. We remain epicenter of everything regarding COVID. And we led from the front. We're able to hold it and arrest it and kept it at bay. We were not waiting for resource. We're doing testing, free testing for every of our citizens for the first 10 months. Even till today, we're still doing free testing. That was direct resource that we needed to bring on top of it. We didn't have the rate of fatality that are being recorded in other parts of the world. We've had opportunity to also scale up, our infrastructure in all of our hospitals. Right now, we're building, an infectious disease center so that the learning and the experience of COVID-19, we don't need to run helter-skelter to know how to, design or look for scientists that also can help us, design our own vaccine, for example. So those are some of the capabilities of what we're doing. In education, in technology, I mean, before I leave that sector, in technology, we're building the backbone, for what we call a metropolitan fiber optics. So we're building 3,000 kilometers of fiber around Lagos. We've done 1,800 kilometers as we speak now. By June 29, I'll be commissioning fiber in 100 schools. Direct fiber in 100 schools. We will have, connectivity to all of our hospitals. We're building the backbone for the private sector to come, the MTNs, the 9 Mobile, the Airtel, for them to be able to deploy their last mile in another 1 year from today. We've given them the capability. We have 2 submarines that are going to land in Lagos in the next 3 to 4 months. That we're giving them the capacity to be able to do it. Data, fiber is the next oil. So Lagos is getting ready for that. On top of that, we're building a security system. We've deployed over 150 cameras now, in which we're going to launch by 29. We're going to 2,000. In education, today we've delivered about 250,000 new benches and chairs to school. We've added about 300 new classrooms to all of our schools. For the first time in 15 years, we're building 3 new schools. New schools meaning a new school from scratch, brand new school from scratch, 3 of them. We've renovated 92 or 96 primary schools. We're not leaving it to SUBEC. We're not saying it's because it's federal government or it's with UBEC or something. We're doing it directly with them. We've improved, admission bed spaces in our model schools, about 2,000 new bed spaces that we've built for our model schools so that they can have, boarding facilities. We've recruited over 1,200 new teachers in less than 2 years. So if I move on and talk about the kind of things we're doing in housing, we've delivered over 4,000 new houses in less than 2 years. We have 2-3 other ones that will still commission before the end of June 2021.
So these are not promises. These are actualities.
These are things that we're commissioning.
And so it begs the question also, the funding. For those who fear that you might have been borrowing more than the state can chew, how do you react to that?
So there's creativity everywhere. Part of my famous life is I'm an investment banker. So I understand, the value of money and how money moves, the cycle of money, right? If you go and check the sustainability model of all the states in the country, Lagos is top in terms of sustainability, how resilient, you are, how sustainable you are. You need to be able to take some audacious decision and be able to plan the infrastructure of your people for the future. If you don't take it now, it gets worse further down the line for you. If you borrow, and you're not borrowing to pay salary, you're not borrowing to buy cars, you're not borrowing for consumption's sake. If you borrow to do investment, to do infrastructure, you're actually building a tomorrow that for the generation that is coming behind you. But the question you now ask yourself is, how sustainable is my appetite in that? So you look at your opportunity metrics and you say that for every of these things, at what cost am I getting it? What is the opportunity cost of this borrowing? Lagos, yes, has a decent borrowing portfolio, but the truth, we're less than 1/3 of even what we should be borrowing. So I can assure you, and I can assure your audience that we're not even near it at all. But we're also being very responsible to be able to create, that tomorrow for the people that are coming behind us. All of the things that we need to do is let's create that platform. Let's give him that infrastructure that they require today. Because things are not going to get any cheaper. You know, things you didn't do 10 years ago, you know what the currencies are doing now. So we need to take it and we need to be able to deal with it.
We touched on the issue of COVID-19, and I wanted you to, you spoke to us on China's television, and you said, aside what the federal government is doing, that Lagos State will also get into an initiative where vaccine will be procured or supplied or gotten by Lagos State government as a state initiative. How far with that? When is Lagos State government going to make that happen? Considering the fact that there's a very huge gap. Lagos State government has a burden of almost 40% of the cases of COVID-19 that we see in the country.
Yeah, you're very right. So we've utilized all of the vaccines they've been given, you know, because they gave us 520 doses, and we said we need to keep the second batch. So we've vaccinated over 260,000 to date. So we've done far more than everybody all put together. So we're right on track. Regarding the vaccine strategy, our strategy were twofold. Who are the people that are eligible? And we're following that eligibility criteria. But in terms of if the actual physical vaccine, we need to be very careful. We need to be careful and to be sure that we're having conversations with the real manufacturers. We do not want a situation where middlemen are the ones hijacked. We've heard stories about fake vaccines in some part of the world, and so we do not want to run that far. So what has happened is COVAX and all of them are dealing at sovereign level. They're actually taking the conversation country to country. We'll try to make an inroad, you know, into them. They're saying to us, slow down, you're a subnational. Let us deal with AU countries. So everybody is a country, everybody. So those are the kind of procurement orders that they are taking now. But we're not relaxing. So we've gone to the private sector and said, you know what, you could be a bit more creative, you know. Try and see, using your own global contact, and try and see what number you can bring down. And we're getting some positive response to that. I'm believing that in the next 2 months, we will have, in conjunction with some members of the private sector, they will not want to be mentioned now, we might have, you know, some direct, you know, information as into when we will be getting those kind of vaccines that we can give to our citizens. And we're also trying to be careful around, you know, the cases that we're hearing, you know, Johnson & Johnson, you know, what is happening, AstraZeneca, what is happening. We want to be sure that we're talking to the right people, we're talking to the right set of people, and we're getting the best quality, you know, for our citizens. So we're not out of it yet. We're not out of it yet. But COVAX, I will have helped at all of them. They wanted to deal with only nationals.
Okay, so that explains where we are at. No headway just yet. We'll be waiting to hear whether your private sector friends are able to get things done. So you made a decision to ease the restrictions on social events and all of that. A lot of people will say, this COVID-19 is still with us. What brought about that idea? Some other countries like Italy are already experiencing a third wave of this deadly virus.
So you're right. It's science, and science is precision, right? Numbers, data will never lie. In January, we're doing about 30-35% positivity ratio, meaning at the peak of our second wave, if you test 100 people, about 30 to 35 of them they were positive. Now that has come down to about 1%. 1%. So Sean, we're still testing the same number of people. We're still testing over 2,000. So because everybody that wants or have to be tested are still being tested. But the good news is that our positivity ratio had come down to 1-2%. So from as high as 33-35%, we're now down at 1%. So we need to now look at the economics of it. We're looking at health, we're looking at science, we're also looking at sustainability and livelihood of people. So if somebody is also not going to kill you today, why do you now need to kill people's businesses? So why don't you give them a protocol that is non-pharmaceutical that they can obey and work with? So what we've done for them is saying that industry has been affected extensively in the last 1 year. Open, but open responsibly. Open with less than 50% of your capacity. No matter how big your event place is, you cannot have more than 500. Even if you have 2,000, 3,000 capacity, you cannot have more than 500. Make sure that all of the non-pharmaceutical protocols are still in place. Hand washing, social distancing, how many number of people you need to have on the table. Gradually start easing them, start unlocking them so that you don't move from 100 or you don't move from 1 to 100, one of a time. But the economic part of it is why we don't want to kill them. And by the way, we have also a fund that we've posted on our Lagos Employment Trust Fund, a 1 billion to support businesses that have been so affected in the tourism space. So we're not just leaving them to themselves. We're also providing support for them. But we realize that that industry has been extremely, affected. So we needed to balance science, given the percentage that I've told you that it has crashed, and also we needed to balance economics.
Let's move to security, because that's a very important part of this conversation. And what caught my attention is what you did recently also. You launched body-worn cameras to the state-funded security organization and security outfits like the Neighborhood Watch and all of that. And they're supposed to go through a training process for 3 days in May of this year.
Yes.
Why didn't you extend it to the police in Lagos?
So those are the kind of conversations that we need to make quick decision on in this country. We are supporting the Lagos State Police Command in all spheres and ramifications. But as it is, it's still a federal-controlled, police force. There's a limit to which we can intervene in their modus operandi and their rules of engagement. Because we said we need to stay along the line of where we have comparative advantage. These are our own security operatives. We want you to be accountable. We want to hold you accountable for your action and your inaction. And so you are going to go through these protocols, right? We cannot force the Nigerian police. We can persuade them. We're trying to encourage them, but it also has consequences. Consequences is that they need to also be accountable for this, and they need to be able to know that in the event of issues or cases, you will be held accountable. So they are looking at their own protocols, their own internal issues in their own internal structure. Maybe they will come back to us. So let's not give excuses all around. Let's start with the ones that are within our own control. That's our own attitude. Let's start and let's deal.
So, Governor, this is your own administration of saying Nigeria should make state policing happen, is it?
It's long overdue, Seun. We should make it happen. In fact, that's really one of the critical things that I believe will help us. It's been said over and again.
Does it frustrate you, like some of your colleagues who have told me that they're frustrated that they cannot take 100% charge over security and the state of affairs in their state?
Seun, is a massive frustration. It's massive. And it's very simple. You see, it's a very simple thing that we're trying to address here. We currently support the Lagos State Police Command in all spheres. Vehicles, petrol, PMS, ration allowance, all sort of encouragement. The last time, even the constabulary, where we gave them 1,250 constabularies and we're paying their salary. We paid for everything, uniform, food, everything. So we're actually incurring those expenses already. So it's really not going to, have any bigger bolt on our numbers, because that's what we're doing. But it will help us once we know that they are state police. What it will do is that somebody grows up in a, you understand that area. You know where Okokomaiko is. You understand the issues around Ojokoro. You know what the problem is in Lagos Island. Once it's domesticated. But how do you explain when a DPO that is just settling down in Okeari police station, or in Lafiaji police station, or in Adinyade police station, and you change it and you bring somebody that is 7,000 kilometers away from the place? It's a very simple thing that, and the guy doesn't even know there's an emergency. You don't even know how to navigate the streets and the corners. That's the whole concept around community policing. You see a guy who is meant to go to school over the years of when you are conducting exercise, and you know that this is a black spot, these people will give me problem 6 months down the line. You go there and you go and address the young guys. You go and give them the encouragement. That's what neighborhood community policing, that's what it's all about.
You already have Neighborhood Watch in Lagos.
In Lagos, yes.
They look like a sophisticated kind of the vigilantes that we see in rural areas and in some communities. There is Ebubeagu now in the southeast. There is Amotekun. By the way, why is Amotekun not effective in Lagos?
So it's a name, you've just said it now. I understand and appreciate everything that my colleagues are doing. But they also commended and appreciated that we have Neighborhood Watch already. I've got over 7,000 neighborhood watchmen who are doing exactly the same thing that we have Amotekun doing. And the whole idea around it is they were meant to be border patrols and all sorts. The only border that I have in Lagos outside of Atlantic Ocean is Ogun State. And so we are collaborating. All of my neighborhood watchers, they are there at the border post, giving us intelligence, giving us daily monitoring, monitoring what is happening in their localities and feeding it back to the central. They are the ones that are feeding the police, they are the ones that are feeding the DSS. They are the ones that are feeding us with information. But they cannot carry arms, they cannot prosecute people, because they don't. But they can lend all those.
So they're just an intelligent arm of
largely
support. But what is the collaboration with? If they have useful information, how useful is that as that can go into intelligence for the police, for example?
Modern crime cracking now these days is intelligence. Is how well you can smell, a black spot before it become an endangered species for you. That's what intelligence is all about. And you tell the people that are supposed to go there and take it down, you've told them it's number 15, blah, 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 blah street. Go and do an overnight check. These are the things you see.
But what does the body-worn camera, what magic is that supposed to perform?
Oh, well, so it's a citizen's kind of ownership and accountability that we're trying to ensure. And this is something I'm very passionate about. We want our officers to also act responsibly and be accountable, to the citizens that we're serving. Once you know that your acts or your inaction, right, can also be documented, right, not only will you behave very well, right, you will also have a source of deterrent, for yourself and for whatever engagement that you have. And it becomes, a piece of very simple information or investigation that can help us track, some of the challenges that we see around cultism, domestic violence, and all of those kind of things, because they'll be recorded. And these are things that you can now play back and see indeed, who are done what. But like I said, it's also being able to hold our own officers accountable to the citizens as well.
If we end this conversation on this issue of security, and Nigeria is at that point where we're searching for solutions to our security problems, what would be your own panacea or your solution to resolving these security problems?
Seun, it's actually multifaceted, right? I was saying in a meeting a couple of days ago where this was discussed extensively. In different parts of the country, right, there are different models of challenges that we have. So one typical solution cannot fix everywhere, right? The challenges that is facing Lagos in terms of security is quite different from what you have in the Northwest or in the Northeast. So we need to also think global but act local in all of those perspectives. The ones that are within my ambit is, I'm in a cosmopolitan state. What are the challenges, of security that I need to? I need to be able to account for people that are coming into my system. I need to have database and know the people that are coming. I need to be able to provide overnight surveillance, overnight surveillance for everybody that is moving in the city, right? I need to be able to ensure that my police are well motivated in whatever name we call them, right? And I need to ensure that I have a strong technology. Technology is one of the things that we're trying to develop here in Lagos, right? CCTV camera, body cameras, and be able to process all of those things, behind the scene. And one final one is that your citizens must trust you. They must also be able to give you information. Where do they need to pass on that information? There must be an avenue available for them. So we're developing what we call a Citizens Gate network, where people can call us in and say to us, these are the kind of things we're hearing. So for us in Lagos, we need to be very methodological about how we resolve our own security issues. And like I said, it's pretty different from, the challenges that are up north, northwest or southwest, and all of it. And, we don't have that expanse of forests, or places where they can hibernate or something. So we need to be able to think through our own local environment and have solutions that are domesticated and are in tune with the challenges that we face here. We face a lot of court issues that we're trying to solve. with community engagement, with speaking to all of the leaders in those communities, engaging them and creating, youth centers where these youths can come into. We have a lot of, drug issues that we're trying to deal with, which can lead to crime, which can lead to security breakdown. We're building, a brand new mental health facility in Kurudu to be able to take 3,000-4,000 and rehabilitate them. These are some of the issues you have in urban cities, which could lead to heavy security issues, which are some of the things that we're trying to do. We have Lastra where we're trying to deploy Lagos residence ID card. The moment you know that you've been in Lagos for more than 3 months, you should be able to come and register so that we can account for you. We know where your address is. It's a very simple thing. And so that we can plan.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, it's been some very rough and long ride through these 2 years that you have been in office. But thank you so much for talking to us on Channels Television.
Seun, thank you so very much. It's an honor, and it's nice to have you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.